Contact 072-646-8915 or visit my YouTube, Online Solution TV. An artist of the floating world essay questions and answers. Sometimes people have great ambitions in life. Even when they fail, they still take pride in their efforts. Citing illustrations from Kazuo Ishijiro's An Artist of the Floating World, write an essay to support this statement. We may have big plans in life. We thus work tirelessly in an effort to realize these goals. Sometimes, we fail to achieve the aspirations. Nevertheless, we still feel a sense of satisfaction for the relentless effort we put in a bid to realize our goals. People like Ono and Sujimura in An Artist of the Floating World have great goals, and when they fail, they still take pride in their effort. Ono has great ambitions of producing paintings that have a significant contribution to the people of his nation, and even though he fails, he still takes satisfaction in his effort. Ono takes a new approach and a departure from his teacher Mori-san's approach. He acknowledges Mori-san's approach of capturing the fragile beauty of the world of pleasure. However, in the light of the difficult times Japan was facing, he decides to value things that are more tangible than pleasurable things which are temporary. He cannot forever remain an artist of the floating world. His teacher advocates for capturing the fragile beauty that pervades the pleasure houses after dark. Mori-san was consciously trying to modernize the Utamaro tradition. Also, his work was full of European influence, for example by using shading instead of dark outlines. Ono's grand plan is to depart from the capturing of fragile beauty of the floating world to painting works with political influence. His new work makes extensive use of the hard outline, a total disregard of his teacher's philosophy. He is forced to leave Mori-san's villa after embracing the new ideas under the influence of Chishu Matsuda. Ono firmly believes that he is acting in good faith and achieving good for his fellow countrymen. His paintings' complacency and eyes to the horizon receive much recognition and praise and help fuel the clamor for Japan's expansion, military invasion, and restoration of the imperial majesty the emperor. Eventually, Ono fails. He admits his mistake. Because of his influence through his paintings and teachings, terrible things happen to his nation. His ambition turns out to be harmful to the nation since it results in untold suffering of his own people. Many people, including his son Kenji and wife Michiko, die in the war. Despite the failure, Ono is proud of his achievements. When talking to Jiro Miyake, he says that when your country is at war, you do all you can to support it. There is no shame in that. Although many people condemn him. Contact 072-646-8915 or visit my YouTube, Online Solution TV. He is proud of what he achieves. Ono receives the Shigeta Foundation Award in May of 1938. He feels a deep sense of triumph and satisfaction. He feels an inexplicable profound sense of happiness owing to the fact that his efforts had paid off. His hard work had resulted in something of real value and distinction. He sits for an hour feeling deeply contented. Although later in life when he reassesses his achievements and feels he made some grave mistakes, the consolation is that his life contained 1 or 2 moments of real satisfaction. Indeed, doing your best in what you believe in is satisfying even if you do not succeed. P61, 79-80, 108, 140-141, 186, 192-194, 232-235. Akira Sujimura had great plans for Kawabe Park, and although he fails, he does not die an unhappy man. Akira Sugimura had great plans for Kawabe Park, and although he fails, he does not die an unhappy man. Sugimura is one of the most respected men in his city. His great ambition is to convert Kawabe Park into the focus of the city's culture. Around 1920 or 1921, he embarks on a scheme with a sweeping ambition. Sugimura's goal is to stamp his mark forever on the character of the city. He wants to enlarge the grounds to contain more natural areas for people to relax. The park would host cultural centers, that is a museum of natural science, a kabuki center for Takahama School, a European concert center, and a cemetery for the city's cats and dogs. His ambitious plan was a catastrophic failure. The scheme ran into financial constraints and his cultural centers were never built. Sugimura lost his money and his influence as a result. Even with this failure, Sugimura still dies as a respectful and influential man, and his family is considered a family of distinction. People like Ono still have admiration for Sugimura. He had an ambitious plan to rise above the mediocre, and even if he lost a fortune, he deserves admiration. He did not die an unhappy man. He knew that his failure was far from undignified. Looking back over his life, there was a deep satisfaction knowing he failed only where others did not have the courage or will to try. Surely, failing after giving your best can only result in pride and satisfaction. P1, 2, 4, 148 to 150, 181. Mori-san had an ambitious plan to change fundamentally the identity of painting practice in his city. Mori-san's goal was to consciously try and modernize Utamaro tradition. This was evident in most of his notable paintings, like Tying a Dance Drum and After a Bath. Although his work had some traditional Japanese devices, it was also full of European influences. Moriyama abandoned the use of the traditional dark outline to define shapes, preferring instead Western use of blocks of colors with light and shade, creating a three-dimensional appearance. He also used the Western style of subdued colors. Mori-san devoted much of his time and wealth to the nurturing of pupils. His pupils lived according to his values and lifestyles. They spend most of their time exploring their city's floating world. Contact 072-646-8915 or visit my YouTube, Online Solution TV. The nighttime of pleasure, entertainment, and drinking formed the backdrop of their paintings. They spend a lot of their time in their favorite haunts, water lanterns, whose proprietress was Mori-san's old friend, and an archery parlor on Nagata Street, whose proprietress was Mori-san's former model. Also, Mori-san's principles were fierce and total, and any student who went against them was considered a traitor and forced to leave the villa, for example Sasaki and Ono. His endeavor to bring European influence into Utamaro tradition was, however, later regarded as fundamentally unpatriotic, thus his reputation declined in the city. He was forced to hold struggling exhibitions in less prestigious venues. He also ended up illustrating popular magazines to earn an income. His departure from Utamaro tradition is regarded iconoclastic by Utamaro faithful. Despite his failures, Mori-san believes that as an old man looking back over his life, he will be satisfied for devoting his life to capturing the unique beauty of the floating world. No one will make him believe that he wasted his time. Surely, even if our grand plans fail, our consolation and satisfaction rests in the fact that we tried our best. P101, 108, 197 to 200, 228, 231 to 232. Chishu Matsuda had great ambitions for the restoration of Japan. Shisha Matsuda had great ambitions for the restoration of Japan, and even though he fails, he is still proud of his determined attempt. He clamors to restore His Imperial Majesty the Emperor to his rightful place as the head of state. While working for the Akita Shinjin Society, he urges artists like Ono to wake up and open their eyes. He urges them to stop painting about the floating world and instead produce works that can achieve something of real value. He wants the emerging generation to take action to rid themselves of greedy businessmen and politicians. He believes Japan is a mighty nation capable of matching the Western nations, not a backward country of peasant farmers. Although he perceives Japan as an Asian giant, he is angered by the people's desperation and the fact that children still continue to die of malnutrition. Matsuda had plans to help Japan forge an empire as powerful and wealthy as the British and the French. He wants Japan to use its strength to expand abroad. Ono acknowledges that Matsuda had grand goal. He composed the manifesto for their China Crisis campaign. He had great aspirations that required energy, courage, and determination. He was too busy improving the world to think about marriage. He fails since Japan loses the war, and many people are killed and property destroyed. He accepts that he did not have a broad enough view of the world then and admits that he was just an ordinary man who made a minimal contribution. Nonetheless, he is proud because he acted on what he believed in and did the utmost. He is not disillusioned. Although his ambition was flawed, there are aspects he was proud of. The bold steps he took were in the best faith. Even when he fails, he does not blame himself. He feels contented. Indeed, when you give your best. Contact 072-646-8915 or visit my YouTube, Online Solution TV. In doing what you believe in, you end up feeling happy with yourself. P158, 162, 163, 170, 228, 233. In conclusion, it is better to try and fail than not try at all. People with astronomical plans may fail, but they still feel proud of their determined effort. An artist of the float.